First up, the government of Ghana is not likely to pay the over 4 billion cedi 5-year bond maturing today. This is because it has already been included in the second amended and restated exchange memorandum of the domestic debt exchange program. However, it is unclear whether the government will honor the interest payment of the debt instrument. Ideally, the government would have to roll over the instrument, but market conditions make it unlikely to do so. We'll get some perspective from Professor Williams of the Andrews University in the U.S. in a bit. First, though, this report capturing what is in the memo.
Joy Business is learning that unlike in the past, this document or memorandum of understanding, its draft paper was circulated among all the critical stakeholders before it was published. This was to ensure that all the concerns from these bondholders are captured in this revised debt exchange program to address all the issues so government doesn't suffer any backlash when this document is published. This is because government is racing against time to get all these stakeholders to sign up to this deal by tomorrow. It is not clear whether this will happen, as some of the interest groups, like the pensioners, have hinted that they will pick it at the Ministry of Finance today for their inclusion in this debt exchange program, as they wanted to be excluded. The amended debt exchange program identifies 3 categories of bondholders, one which includes collective investment schemes and persons below 59 years ending January 2023. The second category of holders, that is those that are over 59 years. The third category are not included in the first and the second, but a separate grouping on its own. Based on this revised memorandum of understanding, it looks like the banks will be getting more than the 5% that was earlier announced by the Finance Ministry in terms of coupon payment.
Associate Professor at the Andrews University, Professor Williams, joins us on Zoom to discuss this. So based on this new memo, we understand government is unlikely to pay the over 4 billion cedi 5-year bond, which is maturing today. However, it is unclear whether the government will honor the interest payment of the debt instrument. What's your thinking about this?
Good afternoon, Daryl, for calling me. So, Daryl, if you remember, government had already planned, and sometime in December 2022 had already included these bonds into their strategy, especially when it came out with the zero interest payment for 2023 until the government amended their position. It might be said that also that government has mentioned that this program, domestic debt program, is a voluntary one for individual bondholders. This gives an indication that government will be in a position to strategize to make the payment. But what I'm foreseeing is that the payment will not happen on the settlement date as has been planned. If you look at the notice given by government intends to accrue the interest and then pay it at a later date. So bond that will be due, that is due tomorrow, which is due date, we also have a settlement date. So the settlement date, this is where government is going to plan, probably to make sure that they have cash flow to meet the needs or this requirement. We must also know that government made some provisions in the budget for paying interest. And if government is able to raise some revenues within the first quarter, I'm sure government will be able to settle it. If not, government option is to go to the central bank to give some overdraft to allow government to pay this initial bonds that are due. We should know that if there are concessions for government, government meeting IMF requirement will happen at the end of the year. That is a zero deficit financing. So in between time from January to December, government may require Bank of Ghana to come in to give them a bailout. So I'm foreseeing that this is what is going to happen. That government will pay all right, but the settlement date is not going to be as stated on the terms.
I know that there are lots of considerations the government has to make at this point, but was this the best option seeing that bondholders are very skeptical about signing up for the deal?
I mean, for government to be able to get the bondholders to sign up about the deal, they must exhibit some trust by making sure that they commit to their words. Remember, both the president and the finance minister, they have mentioned that government will pay bonds when they are due, especially the first two bonds due in February. For individual bondholders to hold government to its words that after 5 years, if you sign on to the bonds, you will be in a position to pay us. Government must make sure that they're able to pay this one now, have that agreement to bring the confidence back to the individual bondholders that yes, we should trust government that government will pay. If government fails to pay this one, to send a bad signal to the market that even the 5-year strategy put on the table now is not certain. Government may also default.
Yeah.
These are some of the challenges to government, and it's incumbent on government that they find a proper settlement date, use all the available revenue they have generated to be able to pay these bonds. The other option is that if government will want to also talk to the individual bondholders to convert some of their bonds due into treasury bill transactions, that is the third option that government will have now, because the treasury bill rate for 91 days and 182 days are something that's very lucrative now. So if government is not able to pay the interest now and accruing it, and they have a discussion to roll over these bonds and convert them into treasury bill payments, that will give some assurance to the individual bondholders.
Well, my last question. Tomorrow is deadline day for bondholders to sign onto the program. But like I indicated, news like this, I don't think would get the buy-in of bondholders with it.
I mean, it's tough seeing the position taken by the pensioners and the individual bondholders. It's very tough, but their holdings in the portfolio are no more than 30% of the total bond portfolio. Those very significant. The good thing is that the corporate entities have agreed to sign on. The individual bondholders, which probably governments still have to be engaging them, and then when government goes to meet IMF, can make a case that engagement with individual bondholders are still ongoing. We believe that to be able to get something out of them, and this will be a good sign for government to be able to get the funding from IMF. But if government fails to, as I've mentioned, fails to pay now, the one which is due, to send a very bad signal to the individual bond.
Well, as far as the president is concerned, the debt action program is a done deal. He's quoted to have said that today. And so let's see how it turns out tomorrow. Thank you so much, Professor Williams Pipra of the Andrews University in the US.